Hey there, Dale and Cody here. So we want to talk about an issue that may or may never come up if you have staff here at WorkPod. But I'd say if your team does grow bigger and bigger and bigger, it is probably going to happen. So we want to equip you with some knowledge and some thoughts around how to deal with this if and when it happens. And that is basically your staff coming to you and asking you for money, asking you for a loan for something that has happened in their lives, or maybe something that's happened to a family member that is close to them. Now, of course, whenever you hear someone that shares with you a heart-wrenching story that's happened to them or someone that they love, your natural inclination is just to go, I want to help that particular person. But if you say yes immediately, then what you've got to realize is you are creating a precedent for other staff members to then ask for a similar thing. And then you start to become almost like the quasi bank for your staff. And anytime that they need some extra money, they can just come to you. And so this is something that you really need to think about. And we've just got some thoughts around things you want to consider with regards to whether you're going to do that or not. Ultimately, you are in control as the owner of the business. And of course, you are well entitled to say no. It's not something that you have to do, not something that you should feel obligated to do at any time. But obviously, there is going to be some considerations based on the person's longevity and service with you as a company. And the longer that they're with you, the more you may feel like you want to help them. So I might share a few thoughts just to kick things off, and then Cody will kind of jump in. Generally speaking, and I think you've got to set up your own rules and standards that are going to work for you. But mine are along the lines of that for the first 12 months, and really much my answer will be a hard and fast no. Because if someone is joining your company and you haven't really developed that longevity and connection, you don't want to create a situation where someone joins your company within weeks, they're asking you for money. I don't think that's a good thing. So I think it should be at least 12 months of service before you would even consider it. Now, the other thing that we're doing to try and help you not be in this position and try to help the staff as well is education. And so what we're doing is providing some training around financial management to your staff to help them to build up a buffer. One of the things that many staff members don't have is a financial buffer or safety net. And so there's a lot of people that live paycheck to paycheck, and it's not how we would normally have staff in Australia or New Zealand, how they would approach things. And so we're trying to help them to build up a 3-month buffer so that you never have to be in this position where they're coming and asking you for a loan for money. So one is financial education, and the other thing is making sure that they're signed up to a health insurance plan. And this is something that Cody is going to talk about right now.
Yeah, so our we call it HMO. I'm going to go from that cut. Yeah, so we call it our HMO package, and our health insurance package is really important here in the Philippines. Healthcare is sort of like a pay-to-play service here in the Philippines, much like what you may have heard of in the United States. So if there is a situation where a staff member or one of their family needs to go to hospital, oftentimes the bills can be extraordinary, sometimes a month's salary for a small operation or more. And so having a health insurance policy is something that all the best companies here locally do. Now, because of the way WorkPod is set up, where you are the ones hiring your staff directly, in the past, what people had to do is sort out their own health insurance policies. But recently, we have been able to set up a group healthcare policy where we have struck up a relationship with one of the insurance providers, and they have come up with a package that all of the staff here at WorkPod, all of your staff that are located at WorkPod, can access that health insurance policy at a group discount rate. So essentially, they're treating us as one company. Even though they're not all employed by WorkPod, they're employed by you. They're treating us as one company so that we can access this discounted healthcare policy. So I very much encourage you to please sign your staff up onto a healthcare policy, because it will avoid this situation where somebody gets injured, and if they don't have the buffer that Dale is talking about, and they don't have a way to pay their bills, then you can be put in a position where you have a staff member who is desperate for the money, and of course, it can become knocking on your door for that cash. And so we recommend signing them up on that health insurance policy. The next thing I guess that comes to mind for me, something that we do at WorkPod, and this is probably for people that are growing larger teams. Our policy here at WorkPod for our internal team is that if somebody's in need of finances, then we have them present it to the whole staff, and then people can contribute. And then whatever our local Philippines team contributes, then the company actually matches that contribution. And I like this policy because what it means is that staff in the Philippines are not going to come and ask for money all the time from the person who sits to their left and to their right, to their peers. And so they're not going to be asking for money in situations when it's not appropriate. And so that way the staff here in the Philippines, they can all chip in, and whatever they chip in, the company is able to then to match that. And that stops us being put in a situation where it becomes always the owner's responsibility to be the one forking out the cash every time somebody needs some help.
So just to kind of sum up, you're well within your rights to say no. If it's something that you're uncomfortable with, that's totally fine. However, if someone has been with you for an extended period of time, you may want to create your own policy around it. And so we've given you a few ideas and suggestions. And if you do want to say yes, there's an option that Cody has mentioned as well, where you match whatever the other team contributes, you match, or you might want to offer a 6-month or a 12-month interest-free loan to that particular person. And so that money is then paid back to you over a period of time. However, if the staff member does leave your company, then you will need to find a way to be able to retrieve those funds. So there is a risk around doing so, but it could be a good thing if they work with you for a long period of time and you know that they're a great performer. And this is a way that you want to essentially support them in their time of need. And this will also buy a lot of loyalty as they pay you back over the next 6 to 12 months. That's as much as we're going to handle in this particular video. We know that there's always unique sets of circumstances and cases, but we're basically here to have this conversation and talk to you. But we want to just get you kind of like thinking about it. And so it's not a surprise to you if it does come up. And then for you to, when it does come up, develop your own standards and policies. But the one thing we'd say is whatever you do, be prepared to make sure it's fair across the board. You don't want to be doing different things for different people. So if you set some rules, and one of them could be around longevity, that's a great way to be able to make sure that you make the rules and then you stick to them.
Probably the only other thing I want to say as we come to a close is that whatever you do give, you need to be understand the risk. And I think you shouldn't give more than what you're not afraid to not get back. So if you're going to donate some money or even lend money, you have to understand that there's a risk, and don't ever lend or give more than you wouldn't be willing to not get back, because there is a risk. And so you just want to make sure that you're aware of that. But you, of course, can always be generous, but you need to be aware of the risk.
Yeah, so we're going to wrap up this video right now. If you have any further questions around this subject, reach out to us. We're always happy to have these conversations and help you to find the right path forward.